What's up, y'all? You know what today is? That's right, Brother J Day, every day, all the way. Peace, love, and soul. Get that gold. Please like, subscribe, and share if you feel like there's something worthwhile or interesting that you get from these videos. I hope you do. Okay, so we're going to continue right along where we left off. In the last video, I showed you how to clean out your liquid gravity trap and go to round 2. And like I said, when you're processing your cons, you want to run them through 3 times because of the rule of 20%. You'll lose 20% every time you process down, but by the 3rd process you should get somewhere between 95 to 99.9% of your materials out, depending on how good you are with your tools. Okay, so I'm going to hit pause for a second and adjust the view so you've got a slightly better view. Okay, we're back. I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see my ugly mug in the video, but I really don't want to adjust my computer. I want you to see what's going on down here. I have moved my catch pan down to the floor, and my classification screening process down here on the floor, and also the liquid gravity trap is in my catch pan on the floor. And that's so that you guys can see very clearly exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so since I won't be talking to you guys a whole lot right here, I'm basically going to just be going through the process, and you'll see how I set it up in the field, how I classify my material very quickly, how I stratify it down. We're going to run it through here, and once I get the material in here, I'm going to hit pause until it's already done this work. And then once it's done this work, I'm going to show you what I catch in here. Okay, hopefully we can squeeze that all into a 30-minute video. Anyway, here we go. First thing is, because I don't want to get my floor soaking wet, I wanted to show you guys the material down here in my classification screen, but I think I'm going to have to pass on that. And the reason for that is because I have an excess of water going on, and I just don't have anywhere else left to put the water. So wait a minute, I have an idea. I can do it like this. Well, I can't do it with that, it's too big to fit, but I can just scoop it like this. And you guys can see that water right there is really brown. Most of what's floating around in there is organic dust and pyrite. Pyrite, when it's really small, will just float. You know, it's one of the ways you can tell the difference when you're dealing with micro materials. One of the ways you can tell the difference between gold and pyrite is that pyrite will just float. You know, really small pyrite won't ever settle. It'll just sit in the water forever and ever. It will never settle. One time I had a 50-gallon can that I was using to catch my wastewater and let things settle out. I had so much pyrite in that thing, I let it sit for almost a week. And at the end of a week, I still had pyrite and dust floating around in that 50-gallon can. And I ended up having to discard all of that water because it just would not settle no matter how long I let it sit. And that is why I hate pyrite. Alright. So honestly, when I'm in the field, the last thing I do is adjust my gravity bowl, because you don't need to adjust your gravity bowl until you classify your materials. Here's how I classify the materials. And I already done told you I like to shake. Now I'm going to put some water back in here, and the reason is you want to have, I hope you saw that, by the way. You see all those rocks and stuff down in there? So yeah, that's a mixture of everything, just like you would get when you're actually in the field. Now I'm going to put about 2 inches, maybe 3 inches of water over the top of the surface of that material. That way you can make the pebbles float and let the small grains of gold and stuff ride right down through the pebbles. Shake, 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 shake. And I really do like bouncing it up and down, especially when I'm classifying this material, because shaking this way pushes it to the sides. I guess it classifies pretty good, but I think it's faster personally just to do it like that. So that took like a minute, and you can see what I got in there. A bunch of pebbles that are bigger than 1/4 inch. I'm just gonna dump those off. And the 1/4 inch classifier, I don't need it anymore. Just set it right down in there. Go down to my much smaller 2mm classifier. Shake, shake, shake. Now the thing about this 2mm classifier is it's got a steel bottom. I did poke holes in the bottom of it, but those holes let a lot of flat rocks slide through. So what I actually like to do with this is I like to turn it on its side and kind of run it like a trommel. And the faster you go, the better it works. And the more tilt you got on it, the more area you got to work with as far as classifying your materials, because the bottom of it when I bought it was a solid steel plate. And obviously you're not going to classify anything through a solid steel plate. So I had to poke some holes in it, but those holes let a lot of little flat rocks slide through there that I don't want. If I was out in the field, I'd be shaking this thing really violently to get all of the sand and everything to fall through these holes. And tilt it all the way on its side. Well, not all the way on its side. I got about a 10-degree angle so that the materials stay in the screen. But basically, I've got it tilted just about all the way over. Alright. And what you see in the bottom there is a lot of pebbles and stuff. Now, I do have a lot of sand still in the very bottom. And even though I hate to do it because it extends my work, here is where I'll tilt it at a shallow angle and shake it real good. Twist it and shake it real good so that I can get all that sand and stuff to fall through the holes that I stabbed in the bottom of the steel plate. And with this setup, sometimes you go fast to make the stuff settle to the bottom, and then you go kind of slow so that you can give the stuff time to seep through the holes in the bottom, because the holes in the bottom are about the width of a knife blade, but they're wide like a knife blade too. That's why anything that goes through those bottom holes will not be very tall, but you can get some really wide flat rocks coming through there, and I hate that. Alright, so that's reasonably good. That's pretty good. And don't kill yourself, man. I mean, you're never going to get absolutely every single spec. You just won't. Even the biggest, most professional mining operations using chemical and electro and all that kind of good stuff, even they don't get 100%. So don't kill yourself about it. Just do a good stratification, a good classification, you know, whichever the case may be. In this case, making big rocks into littler rocks, that's classification. In the case with the gold pan, that's stratification. So, you know, just try to be up on your P's and Q's about definitions. I know sometimes I mix and match words like it's all one thing, but it's not. What I was just doing with those screens, that's classification. And what you do with a gold pan is called stratification. So, you know, it's alright if you mix and match the terms every once in a while, as long as in the end you do in fact know the true meaning of things. Okay, so I'll show you this real quick. See that material down in there? That material down in there is about the consistency of beach sand, really fine beach sand actually. And you will still have to do one more classification process, and that classification process will involve your screen. So you have to use your screen, and that's pretty much the same deal. Now I dumped all that water out for two reasons. Number one, it was really murky, and number two, I wanted to show you the material I had down in there. Okay, so the final step in the classification, not the final step total, but it's the final step in classifying your materials. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your sifting screen and, okay, that's not going to work, it's going to fall over. You're going to need a bucket, you're going to need your sifting screen, and you can use a spoon or a tuna fish can or a cat food can, doesn't really matter, you just need something to scoop with. You're going to get down in there, you're going to scoop that material out, you're going to need water in this bucket. So hold up a second, I got one step ahead of myself here. Alright. So here's my bucket, okay, for my sifting screen. I'm going to set that just like that. And down in here is my sand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop up a great big cat food can full of sand, and I'm going to plop it into my screen. And this is a big screen, really. I mean, as far as a sifting screen, this is I'm going to sift it up here because this is the most important part. All I'm doing down here is just scooping the sand out that I already classified. Alright, so you're going to scoop that down. And I got myself another cat food can of material here. That's two. And I think three. For the size of that screen, I can run three cat food cans full of material into that screen pretty safely without losing anything. I'm going to set that in there. Now most of what I scoop out in this can is going to go through that screen. So check this out. So I need to add some more water though, for real. It works a lot better. You want the water level in this bucket to be about halfway up the screen, okay? You can pour it right on top and that's fine. You can pour it right on top of there until you get a sufficient amount of water in your bucket. Okay. Now, I have about an inch of space between the water line and the top of my bucket, which is really kind of sloppy, but it'll be alright. Just check this out. Watch. You just, wow, that's some serious material right there. It doesn't want to, you know, once it, there you go. Okay, now it's got some viscosity to it. You know, for a second there it was basically compacted down like caliche. And once I get some water on the top and all around the sides and the bottom, it gets really viscous. I think viscous is a word. I don't know. I'll have to check my dictionary on that. But I think viscous is a word. And you just shake it all around. And now out of that material, and remember this thing was filled up to here. Out of that material, that's how much I got left. 3 or 4 tablespoons. Okay? So what you do with that, you pour that right there. Okay, now this bucket is a little small, to be honest about it. Let me get a slightly bigger bucket for that catch bucket. I don't know if you can see this, but you see all this material right here? It just fell out of that screen. It missed the bucket. Now, I could have little specks and little pickers of gold right in there, so I don't really want to lose all of that. And scoop that right there into the tray. Clean that off. Now, I'm going to take this material and put it in this bigger bucket that I should have been using in the first place. And And I'll point this out to you too. Every time you switch buckets, you take a risk of losing material. So you want to try to pick the right size bucket for the job right off of the break. And in this case, I kind of messed up and picked the bucket that was too small for the job. Alright, so now we got a much better catch bucket. And we repeat the process. So once again, this right here, shake it down a little bit. You're not shaking it down to stratify anything, you're just trying to move all the sand into a pile so it's easier to get. So one, just dump it right in the screen, just like that. And if the sand clumps up on you in the can, just dip the can in the water. Two, going a little shaky right there. Three. Right. And I could probably do 4 because it's the level of the sediment in the bottom of my bucket is getting pretty low at this point, so I'll go ahead and do a 4th one. 4. Not only that, I want to point something out to you. Now, this is not about catching gold. This is just about being comfortable. You may or may not be able to see it, but right now, the water level went from this high all the way up to the very edge of the pail. And the reason for that is because the sediment in the bottom of the pail is taking up space, pushing the water up higher and higher. So we want to get that off so that I don't get soaking wet, because Brother Jay's already got a cold. I want to pan some of that out. Now what I'm going to do here, you can do this, but make sure you keep this screen directly over the pan the whole time, okay? And scoop that water out. Not too much though. You want enough water in there you want enough water in your catch pan to rise up to about half of your mesh, half of your screen mesh, okay? So we're back in a good position. The water level's about here, and I have to actually dip my mesh into the bowl a bit, but that's fine. Just shake. That little bouncy on the edges of the bowl don't hurt nothing. In fact, it helps to separate everything out and classify it out. Now when you're doing this, you are classifying and stratifying, to be very honest about it, because you know shaking like this is going to cause all the heavies to go to the very bottom of the screen. I haven't figured out a good way to get the heavies out of there without having to go through a second process with my 12-inch pan. But the heavies will go to the bottom of the screen right there, which is one of the reasons I like to shake a little bit. Get those pebbles to floating, and that way any little pieces of gold are already at the bottom of that screen, and they'll just fall right into my catch pan. Like so. Give it a last little good shake like that. Make sure everything is out. And give it a little swirl too, because your mesh is going to release material 360 degrees. So give it a little swirl, give it a little shake, a little bounce. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to show you another little trick. Watch here. You see how this is flush to the earth, right? So it's kind of hard to get really small materials out of your screen like that. So what you do is you shake it gently now, but you shake it until you got your materials right there on the edge of the screen. You'll lose a lot less materials this way. See? Okay. I have nowhere to put this screen. I'll put it over there. Oh, wait a minute. We're not quite done yet. Alright. So this bowl has everything that would not pass through this screen. Most of the material in here is somewhere between 5 centimeters and 2 centimeters. The material that's in here is somewhere below 2 I'm sorry, wrong measures. What's in here is somewhere between 2 and 5 millimeters. What's in here? The material that I have down in the bottom of this catch pan is definitely less than 2 millimeters. Okay, probably more like a millimeter down to a half a millimeter and down. Okay, now I still have some material. As you can see, I still have some sand in the bottom of my original catch bucket, but there's not enough sand down in there to really scoop it out anymore. So how are we going to deal with this? Well, there are a couple of ways you could deal with it, and if I didn't have so much water overflowing everywhere, it would be a lot easier. But basically what you want to do when you get down to a point that it's hard to get it out, you can do two things. You can simply tip the bucket on its side like that, and you can actually see the material in there. And then it's a lot easier to scoop it out. And then when you get down to where you still can't scoop it out, you'll use water and you'll pour it into your bucket. And I'm going to demonstrate how to do it, but I'm not going to try to get this material because I'll make a huge mess. But basically, once you got the material down really fine, or really low, so that there's just a little bit in the bottom crease of the bucket, what you're going to do is you're going to pour it out, shake, shake, shake. Now remember, I said it's in the details. I'm not pouring straight into this bucket, I'm pouring into the screen. Okay? That's really important. Take your cat food can or your tuna fish can or whatever kind of can you're using, and you don't need a lot of water. This will be enough. Put it all the way in the back of the bucket and just flush it out just like that. Alright, now you can see, or maybe you can ski, I still got a tiny bit of material in there. And I'm going to be real with you, most of those materials are heavies. So what I want to do is the same thing I just did a second ago. Take the water from your catch pan, use your cat food can, tilt the bucket at a pretty good angle, and just dump the water in the bucket. Now when you dump the water in the bucket, you're actually holding the cat food can way up here at the top rim of the bottom surface, okay? You got a slight angle going on, so you're basically throwing water in the bucket, and as it runs out down the angle, it'll wash everything out. If you try to just pour it straight on the side of the bucket, then it'll take a lot longer, basically. Alright, that's how I stratify. We are running up on 23 minutes on this video, and I have to do some setup, so I'm going to hit pause and there'll be a little video blip, and when we come back, we're going to set up our gravity bowl, and we're going to run this material through our gravity bowl. This material right here could have little gold pickers in it, and so this material right here, I'd recommend you run it through your 12-inch pan and see if you can find some gold pickers. Alright, so if you're with me all the way, it's Brother J Day. I really appreciate y'all being with me. I do. Please like, subscribe, and share if you feel like it. If you feel like you're finding something worthwhile or interesting in these videos, I'm very pleased with that. And like I said, when we come back, we'll set up our liquid gravity bowl and we'll run it through its paces and we'll see what we got. In the meantime, and in between time, these little 2 to 5 millimeter gravels, I don't know, gravels, pebbles, whatever you want to call them, you'll want to run these through your 12-inch pan. Okay, this is exactly the perfect size for your 12-inch pan. So these 2 to 5 millimeter gravels, run those through your pan, and no matter where you are in the country, you'll probably find at least one picker in 50 pounds of dirt. You'll probably find at least one picker. Alright, so I'll catch y'all on the backside. There's going to be a little video blip, and then I'll come right back to you. Okay guys, we're back. Brother J with you as always. I've only got like 5, maybe 10 minutes left in video time. So what I'm going to do is we're going to set up our liquid gravity catch, and we're going to get it ready to run. And then I'm not going to touch it again until the next video, because I'm going to produce the next video immediately after this one. And the reason for that is I want to very patiently process this material in our liquid gravity bowl so that you can see exactly how it goes from the very start to the very end of the liquid gravity processing process. Go figure. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I know you do. So it's Brother J Day, as always. Peace, love, and soul. Get that gold. Now let's set up our liquid gravity stratification system. I'm going to have to pull this to the front so you can see what we're doing here. Alright. Now, here's the entire setup for our liquid gravity stratification. By the way, I made one modification that I came up with last night, and I don't know how it'll work, but we'll find out. Here. And I didn't mention this either, so I'll mention it very quickly. This obviously is a coffee can. Yeah, Folgers ought to pay me some gratuities for giving them a little prop up too. But if you look inside, you see right there, that's the oil funnel that I bought over at Family Dollar for $1, and it has an extremely fine mesh screen in the bottom of it. Now, I'm not going to go through the process of how to stratify really small materials in here. I'll simply put it to the point that once you process really fine, like, what do I mean by really fine? Like these. Remember these 2 to 5 millimeter pebbles? I could pour them in here, and I could classify this down to a nanometer or less, okay? But I don't think that's really necessary. I'm just telling you that this setup works very nicely. I have your average Folgers coffee can right here, and this funnel fits perfectly inside of this Folgers coffee can. It's not in there so tight that I can't get it out. The way I get it out is I just squeeze the hell out of the top of the can, and one side of the funnel will pop up. Then I can take it out, and I can retrieve whatever super fine materials are down here in the bottom of the can. Okay, but it's basically the same process I've been showing you through this entire video. So let's put that aside. Let's talk about some other stuff. This is a catch tray. It is also the lid for the Folgers can. So I can put the lid on this and carry this out of the field, and I have no worries about losing my cons. But once I'm in my cabin where I'm processing materials, I have a really big catch tray here because stuff will fall out. I have my neodymium magnet, which is extremely important in the next 2 steps, and I use this for a catch tray also for mystery rocks, okay, because you're going to always get a few mystery rocks. Alright, so I'm going to hit pause for a second to conserve airtime. I mean, you're probably hungry. Alright, so now what we got to do is we got to add, you want this bowl to be sitting down pretty firmly in your water reservoir. And the way you're going to do that is really simple. You just take any water that you've got, and you don't want to pour any cons in here right now. You just want water. But what you do is you take the water that you got, and you just pour it straight into your gravity trap, just like that. You see how that's going in? My video camera tells me y'all can see that. And pour it up until it goes over the riser. In my case, I already know that my water reservoir is completely full, so I don't need to worry about that. But when your water reservoir is completely full, you'll have about a 1-inch gap between the surface of the water and the lip of the riser. In the next video, when I come right back, we're going to run our gravity trap through its paces from start to finish, and we're going to process all of the material that we've classified through our gravity trap. And time allowing, I'm going to show you how to harvest your raw materials out of your gravity trap, and you'll see the entire process start to finish. Hopefully, you know, it's a time consuming thing, but we'll try to squeeze it all into a 30-minute video. So okay, like, subscribe, and share if you find value in these videos or humor in these videos, because I know I'm a funny guy sometimes. Alright, I love y'all. Peace, love, and soul. Get that gold. I'll check you in the next video and we'll run this through the paces and we'll get ourselves some micro gold. Okay? Be right back.